Hello everyone, a very good morning, good afternoon and good evening to all of you. This is your host Vaibhav. In today's session of correlation and regression, we will be looking at the price action which has been driving the development so far in the session. We will see if we can draw any inference using the price action series to see if there are emerging opportunities in which we have the risk reward as well as the momentum, both these factors on our side, so as to make sure that there is higher probability of making money, and also the possible gains are much larger, or at least larger, compared to the risk which we have to naturally take while entering into any trade. So let us now head to the JForex for the newly released trading platform from the Dukascopy Bank SA. Here I would like to let you know that these two lines are SMA lines 12 and 24 being the respective calculation period, which simply gets us the average price prevalent over last 1 hour and 2 hours respectively. To consider the range along with these momentum, I have added the Donchian channel 24 and Donchian channel 48 with the respective range being defined for 2 hours and 4 hours respectively. Now let's see the development so far for the Euro USD, which is the instrument of choice for most of the market participants. Most of us prefer to trade in the Euro USD if there is an opportunity therein, simply because the spread is lowest and also the liquidity is a lot higher, so you can trade very much in this instrument without having to worry too much about the possible slippage when there is a sharp move in either direction. So let's consider the price action data so far for Euro USD. Earlier in the day, it started on the lower side, closer to the expected support of this level of 1.06, and from there on it has now bounced back and risen again towards the level which is the expected resistance of around this prior swing high. In last session, in yesterday's session also, I was talking about the possibility of Euro USD reversing course after getting closer to this prior swing high, and that is how things unfolded. But the only thing was this move was quite sharp and sudden, and then here on the lower side we again saw the consolidation happening around the expected levels, and this time around the reversal didn't happen suddenly. Actually, it spent quite a considerable amount of time, and only after the start of today's European trading session we saw this momentum finally gathering steam and starting to rise higher. Now, as the US session is going to get underway, it has already started actually. We have the continuation of this bullish momentum, but one thing which we have to take in mind or keep in mind is that we have now the Euro USD trading closer to the prior swing high, which means it is again back to where it has been for quite some time. This has been the range for many times. Let me zoom out a bit to give you an idea of this consolidation phase which has been prevalent for the most part of this second half of this month. So this has been the range. 1.057 has been the lowest point, and 1.067 has been the highest point if we exclude this prior move, and that means within these 100 pips the Euro USD has spent almost 2 weeks now. And that's interesting, or you can say to some extent it can also be explained away by the fact that most of the market participants are away from the market, and even on the fundamental side there has not been any new development which might cause the Euro USD to move sharply away from these price levels. So on both discounts, on technical as well as on the fundamental side, we don't really have many reasons for this range to break, and as a result of that, those who have been trading to take advantage of this range I think would have made quite a good amount of money, as most of the things have worked out as per our expectations. So today again, as the Euro USD is climbing back to the prior swing high closer to this range highest point, we do have to get careful now. The risk reward ratio for the buy traders is not really in favor. So here, unless there is any break fresh momentum which results in to the break of this immediate ceiling, we have to be careful, and I think it is better for us to keep working with this range at least for next couple of days till the next week, when the traders will be back from the vacations and will be raring to go. And only next week I think we can expect this ceiling to break and fresh moves to ensue. Now let's see what we can do within this range in today's session, and for that of course we have to turn our attention to the lower time frames to see if there is any opportunity which is likely to come our way. And for that, the correlation regression analysis is a very important tool, as we get a good idea of the relative momentum, relative strength, and the weaknesses of the trend. And using that data point, we can then figure out if the Euro USD is the best choice to go for the trade, or if we have some opportunities which are likely to have higher chances on and possibility of ending on a profitable note if we see the opportunity in other instruments, whether it is currency or forex, and if it has a relatively higher probability compared to the Euro USD. Of course, it is a better idea to go with that trade instead of sticking to the Euro USD. So let's start doing our comparative analysis. For that, all we have to do is look at the timeline of the immediate swing high, magnitude of the move. So both these factors combined, we get a good idea of how things have shaped up and what we can expect moving forward. Now, if we simply consider these moves here in Euro USD, we saw this reversal gathering steam after this low at 8:45 GMT, with the low being at 1.061. From there on, the Euro USD has gained 50 pips or more than 50 pips as of now, and the momentum is squarely on the bullish side with this formation of higher highs and higher lows. And right now have many reasons to go short in the Euro USD. The only reason to not go long is that Euro USD has now climbed to the levels closer to the resistance, and that is a reason to maybe sit on the neutral ground, observe it for maybe a couple of hours more, and if it fails to break the ground, of course we can go for a short sell trade as and when we see the momentum shifting from the bullish to bearish. But right now the things are quite a bit risky, and it's not going to be a easy time to initiate a new trade. That said, let's compare it with the other major currencies timeline. We have the AUD USD with this swing low formation coming quite late at 14:05 GMT. So, of course, on this count, we can safely say that the AUD USD is not strong as the euro is against the dollar, and we should give first preference to the euro for any kind of buy trade to be taken in today's session. The AUD was quite strong in yesterday's session, but that is yesterday now, and in today the bulls are more interested, more invested in the euro compared to the AUD. Now this move starting from the lowest point to the highest point of today's session is rather sharp, and also in terms of the magnitude the move is quite good, almost closer to two and a half, you can say 2 out of 3, not two and a half, or 66 percentage point in terms of the magnitude 0.66%, not 66. So that is quite a strong move. So the immediate momentum here is we do have to give weightage to the prior price moves also. So on that count, I think we have to be careful with the AUD, and instead I think the first preference for any kind of buy trade still should be given to the euro against the AUD. Now let's see the story for GBP USD. The GBP USD is seemingly on a similar trajectory as euro. It is also in a consolidation phase for many days, and today's session again it is finding support closer to the 1.2 range. That is the level from which it has rebounded many times before, and today it is doing the same thing. Now moving forward, I think it does has some room to move higher, as we have this prior swing high which is around 50 to 60 pips away. So for GBP, we can be little more hopeful for the continuation of the bullish trend compared to the euro. But in terms of the timing, I think yeah, to some extent the GBP is apparently on the stronger footing. Let me compare the exact timings of this prior swing low formation and also the reversal there onwards. The euro made this swing low earlier. After that, it rebounded to went on to go and make a fresh swing high at 10 GMT. For GBP, the reversal has been equally sharp. Now, I think if we simply go by the magnitude of the rise, in terms of difference is not that large in today's session. Somewhat similar or looking slightly weaker for the GBP actually, but then there is a contrast of immediate support and resistance, and on that count the GBP can be given a more lenient treatment, and we can expect the GBP to climb. But apparently, so we have the euro, which is on the stronger footing. And if we have to believe in the GBP's story of the range, then maybe this time around euro might break the ground and we might see it forming a fresh swing high. So that possibility is there. But euro is still, you can even say slightly, but whatever it is still apparently on the stronger side. Let's see the development for NZD. NZDUSD is following a similar trajectory to the AUD. It was in a bearish phase where it declined substantially, more than half percentage point. Now the reversal from the lower levels is also happening quite fast, and it has gained substantially from the lower side. But still, if we simply go by the timing of this event, it has to be placed behind the euro in today's context. But on whole, on balance, it is apparently quite strong. So here also the room is not much for the NZD to run higher. It is also approaching these close levels, so that is something to be kept in mind. And only for GBP, in terms of the resistance, we have some more room to run on the higher side. So for any buy trade, we still have the preference with the euro, or for that matter, you can even go for the GBP, but the NZD and the AUD have to be placed behind the other European currencies in terms of the preference for expectations of the continuation of the trend with bullish tendency. The CAD is doing quite well. Not only it made this low earlier compared to what we saw for the AUD and USD, AUD and NZD, but it is also moving quite well with significant gains from this low point. So the CAD is also quite strong in today's session against the dollar, and if it goes on to continuing to trade strong, we can expect it to again decline, the USD CAD to decline towards this prior swing low, which is there around 1.3 foot. So I think here there is mix of this range as well as the momentum being quite strong. So the USD CAD can be given more preference compared to the AUD NZD or AUD USD or NZD USD for the trend to be taken in the hope of continuation of the momentum which we are seeing, where the US dollar is on the back foot. It is trading bearish against most major currencies in today's session, whereas other major currencies are going strong and gaining ground against it. Now comparing it with the euro or GBP, I think it has to be placed behind the euro, or for that matter even GBP. As for GBP and euro, the momentum is quite good, and simply if we go by the timeline of the event, it has to be placed behind. So we still have the preference for the euro. Let's see the story of USDCHF. The CHF made this level at 9:30 GMT. From there on, it turned the corner and it made this low at 0.9228. After that, it went into a consolidation. Now it seems to be gaining ground, and on this count, you can place it ahead of the AUD or the NZD, and even to some extent CAD, as CAD made the day's high much later compared to the USD CHF. So in today's session, we are seeing the European currencies trading quite strongly in the bullish sentiment against the US dollar compared to the currencies from other regions of the world. Let's see what's the story for USDJPY. The USDJPY made the swing high at 9:45 GMT. From there on, it went into a consolidation phase. It didn't really make a fresh swing low for quite some time. Now its fresh move on the lower side has been quite sharp, and in terms of the magnitude, the move is quite big also. So here we have of late the USDJPY playing the catch up and moving more than what kind of move which we are seeing in the other major currencies. But still, simply by comparing the timeline of this rise, we have to place the Euro USD as the strongest currency to trade with against the dollar. And in almost all the major currency crosses against the US dollar, we have the sentiment against the dollar. So today there is not much of an contradiction in these comparative analysis, and we are seeing the weakness, bearishness prevalent in the US dollar across the board. So that is something to keep in mind while determining the trading opportunities. Now let's consider the developments for equity segment. For equity segment, the gains have been quite good in today's session, with the Dow Jones Industrial Average rising more than 1 percentage point from the lowest point of the day. After the start of the US session, it has picked up the momentum further. But I think moving forward, we will have to trade cautiously in the Dow Jones Industrial Average, as we have these resistance in place on the higher side compared to these prior levels. We have this time around these swing low which is higher compared to the prior swing low, so that possibility is there that this time around it might break, but it's too early to say that we are going to see a definitive rise above this prior swing high. So because of that, we will have to indeed play carefully and allow the Dow Jones Industrial Average more time before we can make our mind to short it. Right now, the momentum is squarely on the bullish side, so we will have to go with the flow. But then the thing is, if we go for the initiation of the trade right now, it has moved quite well from the lowest point, so that simply enlarges the amount of risk which we have to take. Now let's compare it with the other two major equity indices. The S&P 500 is apparently on the stronger side compared to the Dow Jones Industrial Average. Here 9:35 GMT, this high was made for the S&P 500. The timing is around the same, so there is not much of a difference actually. Now let's consider the magnitude of the move. The magnitude of the move is stronger for the S&P 500 compared to the Dow Jones Industrial Average. So on that count, the S&P 500 edges out, but both these equity indices are having the same trajectory. Both are trading bullish. And let's compare it with the Nasdaq. And apparently we can see that the Nasdaq's move is much larger. And also if we look at the prior trajectory, the swing high after making this low happened earliest for the Nasdaq. So on this count, the Nasdaq edges out both these other equity indices, the Dow Jones Industrial Average as well as the S&P 500. So in today's session, the first preference for any trade to be taken on the buy side has to be given to the Nasdaq. But as I said, we have to trade cautiously moving forward, as these equity indices have now reached or are in the process of reaching closer to the resistance area of the prior swing high. So we will have to trade with caution and see how we can exploit the situation. But in terms of the relative strength and weakness, we have the bullish momentum quite strong in the Nasdaq, and then it is being followed by the S&P 500 with the Dow Jones Industrial Average coming last. So that's my take looking at the current price formation of this equity segment for the United States. And if it concurs with your view of the market, you can take the situation in account, and then after adjusting for the relative strength and weakness, you can figure out which instrument to trade with on which side. So thank you all for joining in. Have a fabulous time ahead. I will be back tomorrow with the developments being covered regarding the moves which have taken place during the European trading session, to see how we can utilize that data to figure out the opportunities emerging in the US trading session. So do come back. We'll have a fabulous time together talking about the developments in the market. See you tomorrow. Goodbye.